hand jobs. Mornings with Mo.
Good morning, everyone. Where am I? Oh, I love it when you're playing your stream and you have it playing so you can have the chat out so you hear studio sound of your thing in it. For me, it just takes me right out. And let's see here. Good morning, everyone. It is the 8th, and we are here, and it is today. Wolfram, good morning. Thank you for all your Modly Mod stuff. Captain Kern Makes, thank you for joining us. And Captain Kern Makes, he does these amazing things where he can talk to a computer and then like it prints out from this plastic, like it looks like spaghetti. I mean, I guess this is a Mo way of saying he does 3D printing, but it is so amazing. Like he can talk to computers, or not talk, but he knows how to make them work. Anywho, it is super fun, and he knows all the computery stuff. I'm just so stoked when anyone knows computery stuff. I am like, you are so awesome. How do you work your computer without exploding it? And everyone's like, we're just functional humans. And I'm like, oh, I missed that class. Good morning, Cher Bear and Alice G and Christine's Courtroom. Oh, I like the new name. I like it. And let's see, Penny Williams, Jennifer Swift, Slinky, and everyone, good morning. We do have a bit of an update. JKD Buck, welcome, and Tammy CA. So there is more news about the knife or cleaver attack. Looks like the maniac who slashed his 4 nieces with a meat cleaver in New York City is clinging to life as sources reveal that he suffers from schizophrenia. I'm pretty sure that when we all saw the photos and I was reading up on this story, I did wonder if there was going to be a mental health component. Now, I do wonder how it is that a man with severe schizophrenia was left in charge of 4 little girls. I have more questions, I know. You are shocked. Now, he is clinging on to life. He did, make it through emergency surgery. He was, engaged with the police. He wouldn't put down the knife and things happened. So Lun Cheng Chen, 49, was shot once in the head and twice in the torso as he allegedly lunged at cops who rushed onto the bloody scene at the Benstonhurst home on Sunday morning. Now, he has been hospitalized for schizophrenia in the past. The 4 children were between ages 8 and 16, and they were found bloodied and slashed when police arrived, including an 11-year-old girl who had locked herself in the room and called 911. This is according to NYPD Commissioner Jessica Tisch. She did a press conference. This was the press conference right after. And I think it's a good thing they did this press conference right after because these pictures were blowing up. I mean, it looked demonic to say the least. Now, sorry. So one of the girls unfortunately had her finger severed, while one was stabbed in the head and neck 10 times, according to sources. The oldest girl was a babysitter who was watching the younger children at the time of the attack. And I'm not going to stay on the little girl's photo. The worst moment of her life where she has just survived something, I'm not going to put that up on screen. That just seems exploitative and something a real journalist would do and not me. Now, all of the children were rushed to the medical center with English is my only language, and unlike Baker, I still can't speak it. They were there with non-life-threatening injuries, although they were going to be dealing with this trauma for the rest of their lives. Now, a 5th child, a 12-year-old boy, had fled the apartment to try to get help and wasn't injured. It's a horrible situation, said Assemblyman Lester Chang, whose district includes this. Now, he said that Chang, the assemblyman, said that the suspect was identified as a relative of the girls, often described as an uncle by one of the victims, though police said on Sunday that he might have also been the father of some of these children. Now, a motive for the attack hasn't been determined. In fact, a lot of this is kind of redo from yesterday, but did want to point out that this suspect does have a history of schizophrenia. And while I was pretty sure that there was going to be at least some sort of, mental health component, I figured I'd let you guys know. If there are more updates with maybe more information or anything like that, I will pass it along with you guys, to you guys. Now, our next story. Well, Disney World, look out, because Epic Universe is about to open, and quote, it's going to be epic from what I've heard. Now, I will tell you, and don't take marketing advice from Mo, but when given the choice, the boys were like, I was like, do you want to go to Disney World? Or if we were planning a big vacation, would you want to go to Epic Universe? And my kids were like, Disney's for girls? And there's Harry Potter. Now, flying dragons, omnidirectional elevators inside Epic Universe, one of the largest and most expensive theme parks ever made. So this is going to be mostly article, but so as if the words from Harry Potter and the Order of Phoenix have jumped off of page into reality, fluorescent green fog shrouds people walking through the Wizarding World Flu Network transit tunnel to be greeted on the other side of an atrium with soaring ceilings. Okay, this is all an ad. If y'all want to go to, Epic Universe, go. It looks like it's going to be a lot funner than Disney World. That being said, it also has Harry Potter stuff. My son is not a biologist. My favorite story of my son's has to be, like when you're an honest parent, you're not the parent that's like, oh, my little Johnny Sunshine can't do anything wrong. You love your kids for their quirks and their triumphs. And I tell this story all the time, but my brother, his wife, she brought in two great kids into the relationship. And her son comes up to me the first time I ever meet him, and he's the same age as my oldest, most feral son. And he's like, hi, my name is so-and-so, and I want to be a paleontologist. And I was like, hi, my name is Mo, and I just want my kids to survive childhood. I was like, I don't know where we stand on this meeting, but that's kind of as honest as I can be. And it's so fun because he was like 11 and he's like, I'm going to be a paleontologist. And I'm like, I hope my children just survive. My husband could not hold a straight face because, as per usual, he has learned that Mo's honesty comes when she is, trying to be honest. So my husband was dying laughing. He needed resuscitation afterwards because he's like, well, it was honest. They may not be paleontologists, but we'll get them out of childhood alive. I was like, well, goals. I was like, I just don't want my boys to star in their own jackass. Goals. It happens. Well, if you'd like to know what happens after you die, I have an article for that. I hope I don't have to get struck by lightning too, but apparently in weird but true, I was killed in a lightning strike, and here's what happens after you die. Why are you wearing a scarf inside? I don't think it's going to protect you from lightning anymore. Okay. Do you believe in life after death? There are so many theories and beliefs about an afterlife. However, one man in particular is inspiring others not to fear dying after he survived multiple near-death experiences. Oh God, Chad Daybell too. Dear Lord, if you start talking about loin fire, I'm out. O-U-T out, sir. There are less than 1 million chances of getting less than 1 in a million chances of getting struck by lightning, and yet that's exactly what happened to a U.S. Marine and businessman, Dannon Brinkley, in 1975. And you still haven't recovered? I'm confused. It went into the side of my head, above my ear, and it down my spine, the 74-year-old told KLAS. Threw me up in the air. I see the ceiling. It slams me back down. A ball of fire comes through the room and blinds me, and I'm burning on fire and paralyzed, he recalled. After being taken in an ambulance and doctors had declared him dead, Brinkley said he woke up almost 30 minutes later in a hospital morgue after his soul temporarily left his body. Well, I mean, don't stand near me in a thunderstorm or when I'm trying to go to church, okay, sir? I already say enough blasphemous stuff. I don't need help. Good morning, Dan Davis. Now, while explaining what happened to him when he flatlined, the former Marine described what many people would expect when a person dies. There's a light and a flashback of one's entire life. If I could just skip past middle school, like, I don't need to relive that when I'm dying. Like, that's a cruel right there. Like, I don't want to be reminded of middle school. I had a mullet, okay? I can admit it now. It was not a pixie cut. It was a mullet. Damn it. Eventually, long years after the incident, Brinkley learned to walk again, but his experience with death didn't end there. More than 10 years later, while Brinkley was under the knife for open heart surgery, he once again faced death. On the back of his first book, Saved by the Light, not Struck by Lightning, the businessman explained that during his second encounter, he was reunited with angelic instructors and learned how to use his new psychic and spiritual gifts, Jesus Mage Mobiles. We do have a Chad Daybell. Please bring on the loin fire. All right. So he's using his spiritual aids and gifts and psychic powers given to him by angelic instructors to heal the dying and desperate. Okay, while Brinkley had his skeptics and debunkers, his near-death encounters might have some truth with them. There are some signs of normal and near-normal brain activity found for up to an hour into resuscitation, said Dr. Sam Perina, an associate professor of medicine at NYU's Langone Health. The Post told the Post in an interview, "We're not only able to show markers of lucid consciousness, but we're also able to show that these experiences are unique and universal. They are different from dreams, illusions, delusions, or anything else," Perina said, referencing an NYU Grossman School of Medicine report. Being given multiple chances at life, Brinkley used his story to inspire others. So when you learn you don't die, when you learn you're a spiritual being and you're not going to hell, that's enough to inspire you to change, he told KLS. The 74-year-old now spends his time consulting terminally ill patients and his fellow veterans, encouraging them to not fear death. After all this, where does Brinkley stand on his thoughts about the afterlife? No one dies. It never happens. It's not part of the nature of reality. It's not. Do what now? I mean, I get that law of universal constants, matter never disappears, energy never just dies, but I am confused because I'm pretty sure I just went to a funeral. So I am all the confused. But thank you for bringing back your spiritual powers and no loin fire as of yet. Sir, we salute you for not trying to marry Lori Vallow. Well, the Diddy stuff is heating up, and ew. I mean, honestly, Diddy is gross. Cassie Ventura is set to testify against Sean Diddy Combs using her name in a SMEX trafficking trial. So, looks like, past is coming to bite old, Puff Daddy in the back. Should have stuck with J-Lo. Cassie Ventura is set to testify against her ex-boyfriend, Sean Diddy Combs, in his upcoming trafficking trial next month. The Me and You hitmaker, 38, will be using her name in court rather than testifying anonymously, a motion filed Friday revealed. Now, prosecutors stated that victim 1 would be taking the stand in the disgraced music mogul's trial. He has been accused in the suits of drugging and raping both men and women over the decades-long period of his stardom. Now, he has denied any wrongdoing and has pled not guilty in his criminal case. In January, Rolling Stone identified victim 1 as Ventura. Combs, 55, also faces charges of racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution, and his trial is set to begin on May 5th. Now she is preparing to testify under her own name, the filing states. Per People. Victim 2, 3, and 4 have asked that their identities not be revealed to the press or public. Additionally, prosecutors requested that victims that were anonymous be referred to at trial using only pseudonyms. Now, this case has already received an exceptional amount of media coverage, which will only presumably increase as the trial progresses, the filing stated. Permitting these measures will prevent any unnecessary public disclosure of the victim's identity and the harassment from media and others, undue embarrassment, and other adverse consequences that would most certainly follow if these women were forced to reveal their true names in public. Now, the Post has reached out to Combs for comment, or at least a rep for him. The Southern District of New York feds revealed Monday that they plan to include testimony about sexual or SA abuse of other victims at Combs's trial on the charges of forcing lovers into drug-fueled and days-long sex marathons dubbed freak-offs, and running bad boy records as a criminal enterprise. Now, notably, the so-called freak-offs, the drug-fueled, like orgy things, would be observed by Combs so he could give himself a hand hug. Now, call me crazy. I don't pretend to know all there is to know about deviance. I do have a great big, Kindle Unlimited package for all the smuxy, like, mom porn. But if there's an orgy going on, why not just join in instead of giving yourself a hand hug? I mean, I don't know. It seems weird. Like, of all the things, that's the weird part to me. Look, I never said I was normal, but it's still weird. Now, Ventura, a R&B singer once signed to Combs's label, Bad Boy Records, said that the first freak-off happened just months into their dating when she was around 22 and he was 40. After she filed the lawsuit, Combs threw a last-ditch attempt to keep the matter hushed by settling the suit a day after she filed. Still, the alleged, freak-offs now serve as a main basis for the bombshell federal sex trafficking and racketeering indictment unsealed on Tuesday. Among the myriad accusations, Ventura's suit claims that Combs frequently had exploitative sex shows take place at various hotels. She also alleges that the rapper forked out large sums of cash for escorts to take part in these performances, and that sometimes he would touch her in front of them as well. Ew. Just ew. It just makes you want to get a whole thing of Purell and rub it on yourself like you've been walking naked, rubbing yourself along carts at Walmart. Just, ugh. Now, Combs made Ventura the lead producer in his sick sessions, ordering her to find male Smex workers online. When Ventura tried to protest participating in a session, she would be brutally laid hands on, the suit alleges. Now, indeed, months after the suit was settled, a harrowing, video from 2016 would emerge that showed Combs laying hands on Ventura in a hotel hallway. The Long Way to Go hitmaker's lawsuit inspired a number of other women with similar claims to come forward. So I cannot wait for a moment when this man is not in the news ever again. Now, Lord Chippy has some attendants, or some guests, some visitors, if you will. So gird your ear loins. We are calling Lord Chippy. Chippy, we summon thee because we have people he needs to. Now, Lord Chippy attendants, I think that Lord Chippy might get a little bit of gastritis after these fellas. So, I would take all the gears apart and clean them out real good because just, these people. Now, 3 siblings, that's right, 3 siblings, tied up and starved their 18-year-old brother to death. then let his body swell and smell for days before reporting it, police allege. 3 brothers in Iowa were arrested after police accused them of allegedly tying their 18-year-old brother to a bed and denying him food and water. According to a search warrant obtained by KCRG, a local ABC affiliate, Ezekiel Basame, 18, was found dead by police on November 9, 2024, in a home that he shared with his 3 brothers. Azan Basame, 23, Pierre Basame, 26, and Christian Basame, 30. Now, police said that Ezekiel's body had been decomposed and left for days before the 3 brothers even reported his death. Now, an investigation into Ezekiel's death uncovered his troubled final days, during which he allegedly had been tied to a bed after having violent schizophrenic episodes. Now, KCRG reported that Ezekiel had been experiencing a schizophrenic episode on November 3rd, 2024, after reportedly acting erratically for 2 weeks prior to that day. Now, he reportedly threatened his family and said he was hearing voices and hallucinating. Now, at one point, the family told police that Ezekiel had slipped out of his bedroom in the middle of the night and threatened their neighbors. This allegedly prompted the 3 brothers to restrain their youngest sibling to his bed for his own safety, or call the police and get him to a facility where, even if it's a temporary hold, maybe they can get him in a controlled environment so he can start taking his medication again. The hardest thing for schizophrenics is taking your medicine makes you better, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't really need this medication. They've all been lying to me. It is so incredibly hard with adults with schizophrenia to maintain, their medication and not have these sort of slip-ups. That's why the families should be able to, reach out and at least don't tie anyone to a bed unless it's smexy time and everyone's consensual and you get out of them when they're done. What is going wrong with people? Now, after his reported November 3rd episode, while he was allegedly restrained, the brothers told police that Ezekiel didn't eat or drink, and when they untied him to give him water, he reportedly tried to fight them. Now, the brothers reportedly told police that Ezekiel was making noises on the 5th and 6th as he resisted the ropes that kept him tied down, but on the night of November 6, 2024, they noticed that he had stopped breathing. They told police that his heart was still beating, but the following morning, on November 7th, 2024, the brothers said that their youngest brother was cold to the touch, and by November 8th, they had determined he was dead and his body began to swell and smell. These are quotes from them. And if your family member is having, or yourself, if you are having mental issues, there are hospitals, there are places. Don't worry about paying them right now. Look, get yourself some help. Don't tie anyone to a bed. Didn't think I'd have to put the more you know sign in there, but there you go. Now, they finally reported the death on November 9th. KCRG reported that the coroner determined that Ezekiel's cause of death was from complications of probable starvation and dehydration in the setting of a physical restraint. Now, following an investigation, all 3 brothers were arrested on March 28th and charged with involuntary manslaughter, assault causing serious injury, and forced imprisonment. They are all in custody at the Lynn County Jail, where they are being held without bond. Their next court date was not available. And yeah, we all have our family member, but this is not, no. If someone's having a really big issue, call the authorities. You're not equipped. We don't have special training. We don't know nothing about birthing no babies. I mean, I do, but it's not going to help here. Well, in a restaurant I won't be going to until I have my summer body, a controversial restaurant is offering up a 20% skinny discount if customers can fit their bodies through various spaces. Yeah, 20% discount ain't happening for nobody, or at least nobody that has birthing hips or boobs. But there you go. 20% discount, you have to look like, well, my youngest, most feral, to be honest with you. Skinny guests have less dough to burn at this diabolical diner. A restaurant in Thailand is being accused of fat shaming after offering diners discounts if they can fit their bodies through various widths of, spacings, as detailed in an Instagram post with nearly 8 million views. Amina Am on the Go and Alex Wanderstei stumbled upon the, unusual seeming policy at the Chiang Mai Breakfast World, a cafe in Chiang Mai that serves a smorgasbord of international breakfast foods all day. Now, according to the clip, the restaurant features a multicolored skinny discount where bars where the rule is that the smaller the gap, the bigger reduction. There are 5 total categories ranging from 20% off for customers who can fit through the smallest space to 10% for those navigating through medium slots, and finally full price for those who can only navigate through the largest gap. The footage depicts a fairly rangy male diner contorting his body so he can squeeze through the super tight 15% discount space as his friends laugh and jeer like something out of a Japanese, game show. I mean, honestly, you only do it if you want to do it. Okay, if he gets stuck, that's going to be funny. Oh, things Mo would never do out in public. Now, if it were a dead and skid, a dark and deserted night, I would definitely try it. But one boob would make it fully through. I'd get to that space in the middle that only happens when you're laying flat on your back, and then it'd be done. Look, one boob is getting through, the other one isn't. I wonder if they'd split the difference, you know, and give me 7% discount. So the footage depicts a fairly rangy male diner contorting his body so he can squeeze through the super tight 15% discount space as his friends laugh and jeer like some. Oh, I already read that part. Sorry. You need some butter, quipped one onlooker, and then, he didn't. He still didn't manage to get through. But it looks like someone sort of, well, untie your, jacket over your skirt. The game patron finally manages to thread the 5% discount slot, admitting, "It's better than nothing, I suppose." In a follow up clip, a female diner can be seen passing through the 15% space as one of her male compatriot jokes, "I don't think your boobs are going to get through there." Many of the viewers, though, ripped the skinny body, skinny bill rule as prejudice against plus size, with one critic writing, "Wouldn't eat there, that's really discriminating." Oh, for heaven's sake. Look, can I speak up as a fluffy who doesn't really get hurt all that much? Like, this is a funny little thing. It's more like one of the things that you would, I'm guessing this is for tourists who may or may not be drunk. It's a fun thing you do with your friend because there's always one moron who thinks they can get through to the 20% thing. And then it's, fat guy, little, gate. It's not that big a deal. If it really bothers you, don't go to the cafe, but don't take fun away from everyone else just because you think other people might be offended. Don't go over there if you don't want to be, or if you don't feel offended. I don't know. "This is so wrong," criticized another, while a third wrote, "What is wrong with you? This really promotes eating disorders. Let people enjoy their food and have a healthy weight." This isn't about that. Oh, for some, you know what? No, we have a bunch of different things that, the beauty industry pulls and tries to tell us. But if we could all just agree with each other that maybe sometimes, just maybe, we could be able to put the junk food down. and stop crying because I can guarantee you when I was heavier, I knew exactly what choices were causing me to be fluffy. I'm looking at you, 3 boxes of Mike and Ike's for like a pre-dinner. Like I was a hobbit. I'm gonna be real with you guys. I had like first breakfast, second breakfast, mid-morning snack. I was essentially Garfield. So I knew exactly what I was doing. However, others deemed it as funny and even a brilliant idea. We need this across all places, declared one supporter, while another quipped, in America, this place would get sued, sadly. Some even argued that the inflammatory policy should apply to airplanes, seemingly poking fun at the ongoing complaints that they don't cater enough to larger passengers. In 2023, a United Airlines passenger was ripped mercilessly after arguing that carriers should make plane aisles wider to accommodate plus-size flyers such as herself, calling the current layout discrimination. So, no, I don't think it's discrimination. I don't think that everyone is going to be a size 2, but I think everyone could be a little healthier. That being said, I mean, you do you. You guys, I'm so excited. Though I never watched Game of Thrones. Scientists are working to revive the dire wolf species from Game of Thrones in the world's first known de-extinction. And I don't think this is going to be like the fluffy rat that we saw. Oh my gosh, can I get like a couple puppies asking for a friend? I need my entire wolf pack. Moe's wolf pack. The dire wolf, a species that disappeared about 13,000 years ago and made famous by the beloved HBO series Game of Thrones, is making a comeback thanks to the first ever so-called de-extinction. Now, 3 dire wolf pups, aptly named Romulus, Remus, and is it Khaleesi? I didn't ever watch it. Is she the chick that got her hair cut short and they made her walk naked yelling shame? Because, or is she the one that married her brother? I didn't get into it. I don't know. That being said, they named them that. They were successfully born using DNA from an ancient dire wolf fossil and genes from their closest living relative, the gray wolf. Now, the extraordinary results were revealed on Monday by Colossal Biosciences. Oh gosh, these same assholes who gave us the woolly mouse. Damn it all to hell. Our team took DNA from a 13,000-year-old tooth and 72,000-year-old skull and made a healthy dire wolf, the Colossal CEO Ben Lamb said. It was once said that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. Today, our team is getting to unveil some of the magic that they are working on and its broader impact on conservation. I know. They didn't watch Jurassic Park. Now we're going to have an Indominus pup. And 17 movies with what's-her-face's Ron Howard's daughter in it. Because, why not? Now, to create the painfully cute pups, Colossal cloned high-quality cell lines using somatic cell nuclear transfer into donor egg cells, then transferred them to a surrogate dog mom who gave birth in January, according to the statement. Now, the ancient DNA was taken from a fossilized tooth found in Ohio, and that was around 13,000 years old, and an inner ear bone from Idaho that was about 72,000 years old. Now, this 2 6-month-old male wolves, Romulus and Remus, and the female pup, Khaleesi, now reside in a 2,000-plus acre secured, expansive ecological preserve with 10 full-time staff to give them around-the-clock care, Colossal said. Dire wolves have appeared in HBO's Game of Thrones and George R.R. Martin's fantasy series, which the TV show is based on, A Song of Ice and Fire. Now, in the show, the wolves are a sigil or mascot of the House Stark. Who in the what? Khaleesi is also named after the character... That's a word. Look, something... She was played by Emma Clarke. That looks like Welsh. And look, I can't read Welsh. Now, despite their fictional significance, dire wolves were real-life predators that lurked across North America with mastodons and saber-toothed tigers during the Ice Age. They hunted horses, bison, and possibly mammoths, paleontologist Julie Meechin told the New York Times. Now, after those prey became extinct due to human hunters, the dire wolf actually went extinct, and the gray wolf filled in the ecological void. Dire wolves are about 25% larger than their gray wolf counterparts, with more muscular jaws and shoulders. Now, Lamb and George Church, a Harvard Medical School biologist, founded the now $10 billion private company with the goal of bringing back the woolly mammoth. Now, the company has also set its eyes on reviving the Tasmanian tiger, the dodo, and successfully engineered a woolly mouse last month, which carries the same, curly-haired features of woolly mammoths. It's still a mouse. The de-extinction of the dire wolf and an end-to-end system for de-extinction is transformative and heralds an entirely new era of human stewardship of life, said Dr. Christopher Mason, a scientific advisor to a member of the Board of Observers for Colossal. This is an extraordinary leap in technology and genetic engineering efforts that both science and conservation, as well as preservation of life, prove a wonderful example of the power of biotechnology to protect species, both existent and extinct. I mean, could you just make a puppy-sized version of the Highland cow asking for a me? Because if you could make them one that's like a German Shepherd size, I'm pretty sure I could sneak it into the house before Mr. Moe noticed. Now, I'd have to explain a cow in the house at some point, but again, I would come to that point when the cow got noticed. Oh, that's good. Mike and Ike's for breakfast are in moderation. Good. You don't have to give up everything, but you do have to, be sensible. Well, don't piss off, people in Thailand. An American academic faces years in jail after being charged with insulting Thai monarchy. A prominent American academic working in Thailand could face years in jail after being charged with insulting the monarchy, a rare case of a foreign national allegedly falling afoul of the kingdom's strict lèse-majesté laws. So I'm guessing these are respect the rulers laws. Now, Paul Chambers, a lecturer at a university in central Thailand who writes analyses on the kingdom's military and politics, was formally charged when he presented himself to police on Tuesday, appearing in court. Thailand has some of the world's strictest monarchy law, don't disrespect the monarchy laws. Criticizing the king, queen, or heir apparent could lead to a maximum 15-year prison sentence for each offense. Anyone can file these complaints, and sentences for those convicted can be decades long, with hundreds of people prosecuted in recent years. Now, Chambers' lawyer, Wanpat Janrate, look, I am guessing here, said that a warrant for his arrest was issued last week after a complaint was filed by a regional army command. Now, alongside, his charges, he's also facing charges under the Computer Crimes Act. He was accused of publishing a blurb on Singapore's Institute of Southeast Asian Studies website in connection with ISEAS webinar on October 2024 about military reshuffles. An advocate for lead Thai Lawyers for Human Rights and part of Chambers' legal team. He denied all the charges. He neither wrote nor published the blurb on the website. Now, speaking ahead of Tuesday's court appearance, Chambers told CNN that he'd been told little about why he faced charges and feared that he could be imprisoned for 15 years. Chambers is being held in custody after being denied bail. His lawyers have submitted another bail request in an effort to prevent him from being held in pretrial detention. Now, Chambers is a scholar, author, and lecturer at the university's Centers of ASEAN Community Studies and frequently contributes insights to news articles on Southeast Asia, according to CNN. Now, advocates say that the charges pose a grave threat to academic freedom in the country. Unlike other of these, insult the monarch cases, this case involves an extremely well-established academic whose work focuses very deeply on civil-military relations in Thailand and whose experience is widely acknowledged within the academic community. And welcome, welcome, Shizzy Raiders. Hope you're having a good morning. The U.S. State Department said on Monday that it was concerned by the report of Chambers' arrest and was providing consular assistance. The United States strongly supports freedom of expression around the world, and we regularly urge Thai authorities, both privately and publicly, to protect freedom of expression in accordance with Thailand's international obligations, the State Department told, CNN. Now, Thailand's conservative military-backed establishment has ruled the country on and off for decades, and critics say that it routinely uses laws like these and sedition and computers crimes acts to silence criticism and to oppress them. Now, the military has had a outsized influence over the country's politics, despite Thais repeatedly voting overwhelmingly in support of the military's political and progressive opponents. It has staged 13 successful coups since the absolute monarchy ended in 1932. The latest was in 2014 that ushered in just under a decade of military or military-backed rule. So there you go. Now, the longest sentence that they've had includes last year a Thai appeals court extended a man's prison sentence to a record 50 years for insulting the monarchy in what is believed to be the toughest penalty ever imposed under these sort of laws. So definitely I'll keep an eye on this. This kind of goes into things I don't quite understand, but it is interesting to see how different laws are going to be used and what the State Department's going to do. Don't insult the monarchy if you're in Thailand. Just don't. It's weird. Well, if you ever wanted to know how we came upon the classic Walk This Way, Aerosmith says that he wrote it after, watching a famous film and doing a lot of not street legal pharmaceuticals, as you'd expect. I know you're shocked. Aerosmith? Not street legal pharmaceuticals? Who knew? In the final stretch of making its iconic 1975 album, Toys in the Attic, Aerosmith stumbled upon inspiration for Walk This Way by strolling through the seedy streets of Hell's Kitchen and Times Squares. Walk This Way was the last song we had to finish. Toys in the Attic producer Jack Douglas exclusively told the Post, but we could not come up with a lyric or a melody line or anything. Taking a break from the studio sessions at Record Plant in Midtown Manhattan, they were searching for a stroke of creativity in the city. Because of the pimps and hookers and drug dealers, there was always a lot of good material on the street, said Douglas. But on this particular Sunday afternoon, it was barren, he said. There was no one on the street. So they gave up and turned to the movies. I suggested we take a break and go see Young Frankenstein, recalled Douglas of the 1974 Mel Brooks flick starring Gene Wilder. And there's a scene where a hunchback played by Marty Feldman says, "Walk this way," and they all walked this way, which totally broke us up. It was so hilarious. And when we got back to the studio, Steven Tyler said, "I got it. He went to the stairwell, and about an hour or two later, he came back with the whole trip." Co-written by Tyler and guitarist Joe Perry, Walk This Way would go on to become the biggest hit off of Toys in the Attic, Aerosmith's third LP that was released 50 years ago on April 8, 1975. Also featuring such classic rock staples as Sweet Emotion, the title track, and power piano ballad, You See Me Crying, went 9 times platinum and became a best-selling album of the group's legendary career. The drugs worked. said Douglas with a laugh. We were still at that point where we weren't crazy yet, and we could spend all those extra hours on stuff. Indeed, Toys established Aerosmith as a band to be taken seriously. People made fun of, they're trying to be the Rolling Stones, they're trying to be this or that, said Douglas, but that album proved that we were more than all the things that people thought, we were trying to be. We proved we were really a great American rock band that they wanted to be. Having flown up to meet Aerosmith at the band's Boston home base, they were playing in high school, he said. The producer had previously produced Aerosmith's 1974 second album, Get Your Wings, but they were ready to take the flight to the next level, then some on Toys in the Attic. We were out on the road for a year playing with those Get Your Wings song. When they came off the road, we were an extremely different band. Douglas said, we had improved 100 times or more, so it was a whole new thing. With the band not having much time to ride on the road, Aerosmith and Douglas spent a few months in pre-production shaping the material for Toys in the Attic before heading to the studio at the record plant. We didn't want every song to sound the same, said Douglas, noting the influence of the Beatles. We are a big fan of the Beatles, and the thing about the Beatles with the late albums, every track was different. They had different elements to them. And so we went through the songs, and I would set the studio up different. I would tune the drums differently. I would make sure that the keys were different so that every song had its own character. The full spectrum of Aerosmith was on display in Toys in the Attic. Their influences came through and shined through, Douglas said. Their R&B influence, their blues influence came out on the record. Sweet Emotion, written by Tyler and bassist Tom Hamilton, started with the latter's lick for the ages. He's just started playing that bass line to jam with, Douglas said, and then the drummer, Joey Kramer, started playing in, and he came on the wrong side. He came in backward, and Steve and I went, oh my God, that's genius. He's playing on the other side of the beat, which makes that bass line more prominent. And Jay Messina, who was also my engineer, played bass marimba, which he doubled the bass line with the bass. Look, I don't know what these guitars are called, but look, they played a good song, and you can listen to it when you're spraying your hair. That being said, I mean, are we shocked that Aerosmith wrote a lot of their songs while high? Not really. Not super-de-duper really. Though I will say they look almost exactly the same, so there you guys go. This is a bit disturbing, and I did want to, at least give you this first little bit of the story, and then hopefully we will get more updates, because this one is, I think, going to be a big case. But there's a lot going on. There's the tariff-D stuff that we don't cover. So this one, I'm guessing will get bigger prominence, but might not hit just yet. An autistic teen is fighting for his life and had his leg amputated after being shot 9 times by Idaho police. Now, I have already read through this article, so I'm going to withhold judgment. An autistic teenager is fighting for his life after Idaho police shot him a whopping 9 times, prompting community-wide outrage and protest, according to authorities and reports. Now, police were responding to a call about a physical disturbance at the 17-year-old family home in Pocatello about 5:25 p.m. on Saturday when multiple shots were fired, according to the police department in a press release. Now, the police had received a report of 2 males, one of which was intoxicated and in possession of a knife, and a female involved in a physical altercation. Now, eyewitness video showed the boy, whose name has not been released yet, rolling on the ground and waving what police say was a knife at a woman believed to be his mother, according to local News 8. Now, the video shows 4 police officers running up to the fence and quickly drawing their weapons while yelling, get on the ground to the teenager. Now, after the teen stood up, the police fired, footage shows. Quote, he was having a really bad day with mental issues, but he wasn't chasing anyone, and everyone could have easily, gotten out of the reach of his knife. That's not how this happens. Knife attacks are deadly. They're swift. You can't just run away from them. That's not how this happens. Now, The neighbor, Brad Andres, told the outlet. A woman identified as the teen's aunt told the station that the autistic boy has an impairment and can barely walk. The injuries from the shooting were so severe that the teen's leg was amputated and he remains in critical condition, the family told the outlet. Now, life-saving measures were immediately performed on the boy, according to authorities. The shooting has prompted local outrage, with several community members lining up outside the police department, building, a protest to the police action, the outlet reported. I can't imagine anyone in the community trusting the police after this. They again were called to help with a minor having a mental health episode in his front yard, and they put him on death's door. He's in the hospital fighting for his life, one protester, Dylan Harrison, told the outlet. Now, the police have asked for the public's patience while the incident is being investigated further by the Critical Incidents Task Force. We respectfully ask for the public's patience as we, investigate this. In the meantime, we advise individuals to avoid the area while the investigation is ongoing, and further details will be provided as they become available, the police department said in a press release. So, a person with a knife, no matter what their impairment is always a danger. I will hold and withhold judgment until we get to see the body cam, but I did want to let you guys know that this is probably going to blow up. This is probably going to be a big thing. Share Bear, I don't know. I'm not saying that I'm going to trust the police when they bring out their stuff. I want to see the body-worn stuff, but I did want to give you guys a heads up that this is probably going to be a fairly big story. At least could be. Well, you guys, this is actually interesting and good news. Now, new groundbreaking procedure on a 26-year-old man could finally potentially reverse male factor infertility. This is promising science. And I know there are so many people, especially with April Fool's Day just coming by, I'm glad to see it's gone off trend for people pretending that they're pregnant or things like that, because I know that a lot of couples are struggling in silence or maybe haven't let people know that they're trying to conceive, and they come up, with every month being a disappointment. And since 50% of those problems are with men, this is good news, especially for people that really want to have children and struggle a lot. While sperm counts have significantly dropped in the recent years and more men are having fertility issues these days, thanks to a new innovative trial, researchers may have found a solution to this ongoing problem. Although it's only in its early stages, a new sperm transplant procedure to reverse infertility was just trialed on a 26-year-old Jiawin Su, according to a preprint server for health services MedRx IV. Now, a zoospermia is a technical term for when there aren't any sperm present when a man gets finished. Is a common condition which affects about 645,000 men between the ages of 20 to 50 years old and makes it difficult to near impossible to naturally conceive a child. Now, Sue was diagnosed with bone cancer at only 11 years old. Unfortunately, after receiving chemo, the young man was diagnosed with azoospermia. Although men can be diagnosed with it for different reasons, it doesn't have to be because of cancer or radiation or anything like that. Something as minor as using a heated seat function in a car can also reduce sperm production. Now, thankfully, the young cancer survivor preserved his own stem cells before receiving chemo, and since the treatment would take, a lot of toll on his reproductive system, this allowed doctors at the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center to reintroduce those stem cells into a network of small tubes that connects basically where the little swimmers are made, okay? They gave him back his stem cells, and voila! The hope is for the cells to implant in those tubes and produce sperm on their own, mimicking the natural process that occurs during puberty. While no sperm has been detected yet, the ultrasounds did confirm that his hormone levels and, tissues have not been disturbed. Researchers do plan to reanalyze the 26-year-old's specimens twice a year to monitor to see if there are any changes. We're not expecting a miracle result, said reproductive scientist Kyle Orwig, a PhD professor at UP's Department of Obstetrics, Gynecology, and Reproductive Sciences. What we expect is that the transplant of stem cells will produce a small amount of sperm, and in order to achieve pregnancy, he and his partner would have to follow up with assistive reproductive technology like IVF. Many medical professionals are optimistic about this procedure, though. If refined and proven safe, the spermatological stem cell transplantation could be revolutionary in, restoring fertility to men who thought they had lost their ability to be fertile. It could be helpful, especially for cancer survivors treated before puberty or men with genetic or acquired testicular failure. He went on to say, though, we need to proceed cautiously with rigorous oversight. This is promising science, but is still early days. So hopefully that would be good, because I know a lot of couples struggle. I know a lot of people struggle. Sometimes they don't always tell us that they're struggling with this. And if there's something that can help them, then that is going to be great. Now, insurance, don't make it super expensive, and don't make it just a pain in the ass. Now, I need to bring Lord Chippy out again, and this is going to be a rare thing, but we are bringing out Lord Chippy because someone unalived a deer. And normally I wouldn't be so upset about this, but this is a Lord Chippy justice for the deer. Now, normally I am not pro deer, but this is some craptastic human poop behavior. Alaska's famed deer dies after a masked figure sprayed him with an unknown liquid. Now, particularly, me and deer are probably never going to be the bestest of friends ever, but I don't want animals hurt. And I don't want people to be dicks to animals. A community in Alaska is mourning after a beloved reindeer died just weeks after a masked person sprayed him with a suspicious liquid in an act that authorities have not been yet able to decipher, multiple reports have suggested. Now, Anchorage's famous reindeer, Star 7, who led parades and cultural events as an unofficial mascot of the city, had to be put down last Tuesday following deteriorating health, just weeks after he was sprayed and hurt by a masked figure, the New York Times, KTUU, and the Anchorage Daily News reported. Now, according to reports, trouble began in January when someone had tampered with the chain link fence to Star's enclosure near downtown Anchorage. Shortly after, Star fell sick and began losing weight, concerning Star's owner, Albert Whitehead, who had assumed Star's Rimmune, the bacteria-filled stomach that helps reindeer digest food, might have been disturbed. Anchorage, Alaska Daily News reported. Now, soon after, on February 20th, security footage captured a masked figure jump into Star's enclosure in the darkness of night and let the 8-year-old male reindeer onto the streets of Anchorage. The footage shared by Anchorage Police Department on social media shows a person wearing dark clothing opening Star's enclosure and leading him onto the street. Whitehead, 84, told Anchorage Daily News that the intruder used heavy-duty bolt cutters to get the enclosure unlocked, or basically to get himself in. Now, police were able to track down the animal and returned him to Whitehead. However, following that night, another masked figure in a similar getup approached the animal and sprayed him on his face with an unknown substance. Whitehead witnessed this unfold on his security cameras and rushed out to confront the man, yelling at him to stop and leave the reindeer alone. the caretaker told Anchorage Daily News. I said, "What are you doing?" Whitehead told the media outlet, and he said, "I'm trying to help Star." Now, Whitehead said that he chased the intruder but lost him a few blocks away. The Anchorage Police Department told the Times that it didn't know how many people were involved in hurting Star and that no leads had come up as to who was responsible. However, the department says that it assumes that the same person who let Star out of the enclosure was the same one who later sprayed him with the liquid. The detective is working on the case, and the police told the media outlet is seeking the public's help to identify the person. An update on the investigation was not immediately available, and the Anchorage Police Department did not immediately respond to USA Today's request for more information. In the days that follow, Star was diagnosed with pneumonia, respiratory distress, and rumen issues, and fell so ill that Whitehead considered euthanizing him to relieve him of his misery. However, a treatment program from a veterinary clinic helped Star's condition improve, and Whitehead believed that Star would be able to fully recover. Unfortunately, however, 2 weeks later, things took a turn for the worst and Star's condition began to deteriorate again. "We feel extremely sad," Whitehead told the Times. "They've hurt an unknown animal for an unknown reason, and I just don't understand why people would do that." Whitehead told the Times that he had an exact cause, or that the exact cause of Star's death would not be known until a necropsy. I keep wanting to say necro-autopsy, but that's not right. It's necropsy. So a necropsy is an autopsy, but for animals. While it is not yet known what was in the aerosol can, the caretaker told the Anchorage Daily News that the spray could have been some kind of cleaning spray or insecticide. Whitehead also told the Times that he thought the can of contained air freshener but could not confirm that. Now, Star was part of a long Anchorage tradition that started in 1960 by Ivan and Oro Seward, owners of a downtown camera store who decided to keep a reindeer as a pet. Over the year, the Stewarts kept a series of reindeer, each named Star, and the animals became an Anchorage tourist attraction. As the name suggests, Star 7 was the seventh reindeer in the line of succession. Whitehead, who was a family friend, took over the tradition in 2002, according to the Anchorage Daily News. Whitehead told KTUU that Star 7 was not just a reindeer. Star represents what Alaska is to a lot of people. Whitehead said, "In the wake of Star's death, Whitehead and his partner, Martha Anderson, have received support from across the country, with people expressing their grief over Star's death," KTUU reported, adding that people have even left flowers at Star's pen. Whitehead told the Times he's not sure if there'll be a Star 8. "I don't feel safe putting another animal in that pen," Whitehead told the media. However, he added if the culprit is caught, he could revisit the possibility of caring for Star 8. If anyone has any information, they are requested to call the Anchorage Police Department at 311, with more news. But who's going to be an asshole to a reindeer? Like, who's going to be like, you know what? There are some butts that need kicking, and I'm going to start with the reindeer. And as a chick who has the first grudge to settle with a reindeer, I'm not going to go fight Star. I probably would have sat next to him and, tried to use him as exposure therapy. Like, I love you, you love me, I love deer, they love me. He'd probably try to gore me, but at this point, you got two theories, JKD Buck. People are buttholes and people are mean. I mean, that's kind of what I always... In our final story, I might not always get fashion right, but I understand a fashion wrong, and that is what this is. Now, exclusive, just here on Mornings with Mo. Would you like to have a hair braid tie? No, that's right. That is an actual braided honk of hair as a tie, because life has given you so much free time. I'm horrified. No. Why would you do this? Why would anyone do this? That looks like you scalped someone. Y'all, Hollywood people are weird. Daring fashionistas are shelling out big bucks for braided hair neckties from a luxe label called Schiaparelli after the designer unveiled the avant-garde add-on in Paris last year. Costing a dizzying $2,300, the controversial couture that catty critics have called weird and hideous is made from nylon tendrils looped together in a pigtail and a shabby chic tip of the hat to what is wrong with people? Now, since their dubious debut, Voguish VIPs from the big screen to the Big Apple and beyond are wowing with a hair braid on their neck. It's iconic, raved one fashion influencer, Eva Samalsi, 23, to the post of the, ornament. It adds like an elevated vibe to every outfit, said the Gen Z part-time Gothamite from Michigan, especially in New York when you have to like have the confidence to wear whatever. To recreate the designer doodad without breaking the bank, though why would you? She simply twirled her own hip-length locks into a three-strand twine and formed the braid that served as, the tie. Now, Maggie Gyllenhaal also turned heads and a few stomachs with her similar look this month. And while walking the red carpet of CinemaCon 2025 in Las Vegas, the actress turned director donned Schiaparelli's brown-haired braid, which snaked around her neck and down her chest with a black jacket, slacks, and white-collared shirt. As you do. Well, these are nylon. They're not even real hair. This is nylon. You are paying $2,000 for less than a Party City wig. I mean, if we want to go full human hair, I could understand. The next, ridiculous person to don this redonkulousness. The big wig's tie of tresses, however, ignited a firestorm of controversy over cringing cyber critics, but social media shade didn't seem to generate enough rain to call off the Brave Parade's, posh. Look, just no. Now, Selma Blair also put this on, but she also starred in Hellboy. So make of that what you will. Now, the Legally Blonde star, 52, cut a casual, pose for cameras, sporting an oversized tan suit, thick brown leather belt, white top, and she finished it off with the platinum blonde braided necktie. Because there you go. Tilda Swinton, too, rocked. Okay, well, Tilda Swinton always looks like a space creature. Let's be real. Has Tilda Swinton ever looked normal? Like, ever flippin' once. Like, she always looks like a creature from Star Trek or androgynous Annie Lennox from the Eurythmics. It's Tilda Swinton. I mean, the chick hasn't looked like a normal human being ever. It's kind of her signature. Let's see. Another person decided to wear one. I am happy to be marked absent from girl this particular moment. I will go ahead and wear my Lord of the Rings sweatshirts and just simply wait for the day that my bucket list. I have finally figured out what my full-on bucket list item is, and it's me. It's Moish, but okay, you guys, have you ever watched the Great British Baking Show? I don't want to cook there. I just want to hang out with Noel, and we would out-sweater each other. Think about it. Noel, Mo, America's Greatest Baking Show. I'll bring the sweaters. You bring the sweaters. We will hang out together and have fun. My husband was like, you cannot, keep fantasizing about hanging out with Noel. And I was like, no, honey, you don't get it. I would be out there having insane fun and stealing his sweaters. And then I'd come home and I'd be all happy because I just hung out and like ate food and, messed around with Paul Hollywood and Noel. Like, I'm not saying that I would steal all of Noel's sweaters. I am saying I would steal all of Noel's sweaters. That being said, my children, let's make this happen. Great American Bake Off with Mo and Noel, and we will just be fabulous. I do miss Mary Berry. I love him. And Mr. Mo was like, you're not supposed to fantasize about other men. I was like, no, not in a romantic way, in a sweater way. I love him. Oh, they did an American Bake Off? Well, they didn't have me, so it really didn't count. You need a redhead. Mo hair ties discontinued due to customers' hatred. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me on this Mornings with Mo as we go through some of the hard-hitting, you know, news stories, a lot of the redonkulous, and some of the weird. I am going to be going over to and sending you guys over to the Petty Express. We will be sitting or finishing up day 6 and into day 7, and things are getting juicy because we have, let's just say, if you have only been slightly looking at the Linda Sturmer case, you will never guess who her secret lover was. Samuel X. Jackson. That is right. Discount Timu Nick Fury was Linda's boyfriend, and she stalked the hell out of him. This man was like, she kept showing up. So finally I was like, I don't care if she's married. Anyhoozle, if you want to join the Petty Express as we all await Karen Reed, and then I will try to be doing something heads up tomorrow or Friday, and I haven't decided which. It'll probably be Friday. We will be off the Sturmer train, and we will be doing a Friday fun day, fun extravaganza watch of Baker taking down this weirdo guy. I love it. I'm so technical. I'm like, look, y'all. Basically, Baker had a monster stream where he got to talk to, I'm guessing his name is Yellow Cottage Tails. I don't know. He always just calls him Doofus, so I'm going to say Doofus. Well, or I just think of him as Doofus. Anywho, I'll be doing a react to that because, you know, it's going to be awesome. And he deserves his flowers. We've got so many people that are blowing up, and it is amazing. Baker is doing awesome possum job. You've got Captain Kern Makes doing awesome possum stuff. We are just growing and being so awesome. So, anywho, no, look, I am a transplant. I was born below the Mason-Dixon line in Virginia, and I hold tightly to my fake southernness. Have a wonderful day. Remember, if you haven't heard it today, need to hear it from a mom, or just needed it, you are loved just as you are. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, but have a sassy mouth and carry a can of bitch fire, 'cause kindness doesn't equal doormat no more. Bye, you guys.